After round 11 of the URC, the table is as tight as ever. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. I'm wearing my Ospreys jersey today in honour of their performance this week, but it could easily have been, one of these two teams behind me over my shoulder, Sharks or Glasgow, both of them. Really good performances this week as well, and recently too. So, as usual, we're going to go down through the games, talk about a little bit about each of the games, and then we're going to look then at the table and see how it has kind of, condensed up into basically like a couple of battles in the table at the minute. So, we start with the Friday games. The first is Benetton 20, Scarlets 20. Yet another draw in the URC this year. It's crazy. And I keep saying in my previews, I'm not going to predict a draw in certain games. Because they're rare in rugby, but we've been having so many of them in the URC this year where I'm still going to stick to that thing. I don't like sitting on the fence. I have to pick a team, even if it's really difficult. You probably see me sometimes dithering because I haven't even made up my mind. And it's only when the words come out my right mouth that I actually know which one I picked sometimes. But interesting game, this one. So, we start off with kind of cagey between both teams. You have a penalty from Leggett Jones gives Scarlets the lead. Then we have a couple of penalties in reply from Rhino Smith. And then just before the break, then Odogwu goes over for Benetton. So, they've got a decent lead at the break, 13 points to 3 up, so 10-point lead. And then we get into the second half, and Scarlets, immediately, Gareth Davis goes over, converted. They're right back in the game. Then on 57 minutes, Tommy Lewis gets over for them as well. And that puts them in the lead, I think 15-13 at the time. 10 minutes ago then, Benetton strike back. Garbisi gets in, and Farias converts. So now Benetton leading going down the stretch, but then Max Page in for a try for Scarlets to tie it up. Conversion is missed. Could have been a chance to win the game there for Scarlets, but I think both teams, will, on reflection, I think will be happy with the draw. Benetton kind of not brilliant form lately, so at least getting some points on the board. And Scarlets, any points you can pick up away from home, given this season they've had so far, has to be good. And it kind of keeps that kind of momentum going for them as well. A couple of wins recently, and, this is another game where at least they haven't lost. But Benetton 20, Scarlets 20, the final score there. Next, we have the other Friday night game, Glasgow Warriors 31, Munster 22. Glasgow, brilliant start. Ollie Smith over for an early try, converted. Then Dan Lancaster gets in as well, a minute later, converts his own try as well, 14-0 up. Then Munster hit back through Ethan Coughlin, brings them, back into contention at that point. But then Glasgow, before half-time, another couple of tries to get their bonus point. We have Agunta Beju, who had a brilliant game, really good prospect, I think, there. Looks like he could, I think he was playing the second row, but looks like he could certainly play back row as well. Or actually, no, was he playing the back row? But he looks like he could play either one anyway. And then Josh Mackay, right in the stroke of half time, in for the bonus point try for Glasgow. All of those converted as well. And, the conversions for Glasgow, ended up giving them that cushion because, who was it? It was Butler, right, for Munster starting out, had not a great day off the tee really for him. Then into the second half, Munster start coming back into the game. Dan Kelly, brilliant individual score. Brian Gleeson, we're seeing more and more of him. He's a young player who has been around the squad for a while now, but I think he's really coming to the fore this year. And then Dermot Kilgannon goes in with about like under 15 minutes left to go. And by this stage, Keith Wood's son, Tom Wood, is on at 10, and he looked very impressive, and he converts that. Unfortunately for him, then he makes a mistake with, a penalty, kicking to the corner, kicks it dead. And from then, the momentum that Munster had coming back into the game switches back to Glasgow, and then Glasgow tie things up with Dan Lancaster popping over a penalty and basically putting it out of Munster's reach to win the game with about 5 minutes to go. Munster then a couple of yellow cards as well. Taka Abrams in the first half, and then Jack O'Donoghue right at the death on like 3 minutes into the red or something. But yeah, Glasgow 31, Munster 22. That one, Glasgow looking absolutely brilliant again, despite having tons of players missing. Munster, kind of a mixed bag for them. They get a bonus point out of the game, albeit not a losing bonus point, but a try bonus point. And, some decent young players coming through, but still feels like, there's more, definitely more work to be done with that squad. Okay. Then we go into the Saturday games. So first up, the Lions 17, Vodacom Bulls 52. So the Lions generally, South Africa have been a happy hunting ground for them this season. Haven't really been great on the road up in Europe, but almost any venue in South Africa they've done well. Not at home in this one though. Bulls, a great start. We have Vorster gets in for a try on 10 minutes, and then we have Chris Smith penalty for the Lions, which I believe was their only points of the first half. And then 10 minutes before half time, we have Johan Grobler gets in for a try. Then Andre Pollard and Kurtley Arendse all in. So bonus point try for the Bulls by half time, completely taking control of the game. Then into the second half, we have a mini revival from the Lions as they get the first score of the half, and that is a try by Morne van den Berg. But, there's no real comeback in them, and the Bulls just take control again. Vorster in for a second. Then Papier gets in for a try, and we have another 2 tries for them in the half. Gumede in, and then Keegan Johannes with 2 minutes to go. And then finally the Lions get their second try when it's all done and dusted. Mills goes over with the clock in the red, but a very comprehensive win for the Bulls, and potentially showing that there's maybe a return to form for them as well. They've had a very, they had a decent enough start to the season. They were up there in kind of top 2 and 3 in the league. Then they fell away, and now it feels like they're kind of having a bit of a resurgence at the minute as well. But, 8 tries for them is really good work. The Lions, as I said, generally South Africa has been good to them, but not on this occasion. Lions 17, Vodacom Bulls 52, the final score. Next then, we go to the other South African derby that happened at the weekend. And, in this one, Hollywoodbets Sharks 36, DHL Stormers 24. So the Sharks repeating the trick of beating the Stormers from last week. And, the Stormers this time, they get a really good start. Corbus Reinach in the first minute. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe they're going to have something about them, this week. Grant Williams then responds for the Sharks. We then have a couple of penalties from Feinberg and Gambazulu for the Stormers as the lead is kind of passing back and forth. Ethan Hooker, who is, I just think, absolutely amazing player, like so versatile, and looks to the manner born really, and is no surprise really that he's been in the Springboks because the guy's just so good, and looks like you could almost put him anywhere, and he'd do a job for you. He gets in, though, for the Sharks' second try. Then, just before half-time, Fernberg and Gamazulu with his third penalty of the half for the Stormers. So it's pretty close at half-time. We go into the second half then, and Paul de Villiers gets in for the... Fernberg and Gamazulu got another penalty because they played on clock in the red, right, up until half-time. So he goes in there. So the Stormers, I think leading at half-time. And then second half, then de Villiers goes in for them as well. So they've actually built up a decent lead by this stage. That was despite, de Villiers being in the bin. That was during that period. Williams got in for his try. And then looked like they're going great guns. But then Sharks start coming back. Etzebeth gets in for a try. We then have Van Heerden goes to the bin for the Stormers. And while he's off the field, Jacko Williams goes in for the first of his 2 tries in the game. And we then have, at that stage, it's a pretty close game. And Sharks then opt to take the points from a penalty. Hendrickson puts that over. And then I just saw on the highlights where we had a kick through from the Sharks, and Hallant made the mistake that we've seen so many players covering do. Like he's definitely not the first, and he won't be the last. Letting the ball kind of dribble over the line, and then waiting to kind of press the ball down. Waits a bit too long, and Williams gets there to get to try to pretty much clinch it for the Sharks. So as I said, it's a poor mistake by him, but I think he's a fantastic player, and he's had some brilliant performances, and he's not going to be the last guy who's ever going to do that. I'm sure in the next few weeks or months, somebody else is going to do exactly the same thing, because we've all seen it so many times. But Hollywoodbets Sharks 36, DHL Stormers 24, the final score. Okay, so next then we have Zebre Parma 15, Connacht 31. So this one, full review on the channel as well. So if you want to go check that out. First half, a lot of attacking by both teams, but not much scoring. And we only actually have the one penalty from Martin Roger Ferias, who puts over a penalty. So 3 points to nil to Zebre at half time. Then into the second half, and Connacht come out like a rocket. Joe Joyce over in the first minute to score. Then Sean Jansen, who has been absolutely brilliant for Connacht this season, getting over from close range for a try. Then we have Garcia responding for Zebre. Then Jansen in for his second try. And, Connacht then, looking like they're moving towards victory. But then Stivile gets in for Zebre, just to make it a little bit nervous for them going down the track. And because of that, they have a penalty with 2 minutes to go. They have a choice, kick to the corner and go for a potential bonus point win, or take the points and make sure that Zebre can't go down the other end and, sneak a win. So they take the points. But then, because we're in this situation where when we get to 80 minutes, Zebre need a score to get a losing bonus point, and Connacht need a score to potentially get a 4th try bonus point. Both teams keep on playing on, and we actually keep on playing on for 12 minutes after the clock is in the red. And finally, it is who is it? McCormack goes over for Connacht's bonus point try. It gets converted as well. During the game as well, towards the end of the game, we had a flurry of yellow cards as well. Gonzalez went to the bin for Zebre, then Mullins, and then 10 minutes after the 80 minutes had expired. Zanon went to the bin as well, and that was the penalty that obviously, ultimately led to the McCormick score for the bonus point. But Zebre 15, Connacht 31, the final score there. And a very interesting game. That first half, looking at it on the face of it, 3 points, you think it was a pretty boring first half. It absolutely was not. There was a lot of activity. Just, it was just really the finish missing for both teams. And then they produced that in the second half. Next then we have Leinster 28, Edinburgh 20. So another game that we have a full review on the channel for you. And in this one, Edinburgh put up a great fight in this, really. And it kind of begs the question why they can't do it on a more regular basis. Why there's that kind of soft middle to them a lot of the time in games. Whereas this one, they didn't really have it. And Leinster had to work so hard for every one of their scores. But Leinster do open the scoring. It is Max Deegan who goes in. And, thinking, okay, they're doing well. They got themselves in front. But then brilliant play by Edinburgh. Great interplay. And it ends up with Duhan van der Merwe going over in the corner. Just great handling and support running lines there in that score as well. And then a few minutes later, Ross Thompson puts over a kick as well to put Edinburgh in the lead. And then just before the break then, they release Satala on the right, and he does really well to go in the corner, and Ross Thompson converts that one as well. So, Edinburgh looking really good at half time, and that's despite having Callum Hunter Hill in the bin as well. And that was I think during the period where Deegan actually got in for the try for Leinster. Then the second half then was basically the Scott Penny show, as he scored a hat-trick for Leinster, all from close range. And, Leinster were just bashing away at the Edinburgh try line, trying to get over for their scores. And, Penny was the man who come up with it, 3 times. So Leinster then, they've got the bonus point sewn up, the bonus point win sewn up, but they really did have to work for it. And then clock in the red, Edinburgh looking for some kind of response. And Charlie Shield goes over, and you're thinking, okay, great. Edinburgh are going to get the losing bonus point that they deserve out of the game. And I'm saying that as a Leinster fan. But the conversion, it was like it was just completely scuffed. And I don't think it ever got more than more than a meter off the ground. It just was like a daisy cutter. Just went never anywhere near the post, and never high enough to get over the bar either. And a pity really for Edinburgh, because I do believe that they absolutely deserved the bonus point out of that one. But Leinster 20, Edinburgh 20, the final score. Next then we have Ospreys 19, Dragons 13. And I really thought the Dragons were going to win this one. It looked like for a very long time that they were actually going to take the victory here. So it's them that go in first. Tinnis de Beer gets in, and Angus O'Brien converts that. And then, they're leading, it's 7-0 for a very long time. And then, about 5 minutes to the break, Ruben Morgan Williams gets in for the Ospreys. Jack Walsh converts that, so we're 7-all at the break. And then we go into the second half, and, it's a tight game, so the Dragons are taking their points from the tee. Angus O'Brien with a couple of penalties. So 20 minutes to go, the Dragons are winning. And, the score doesn't change until about 5 minutes to go. And then the Ospreys mount, a real kind of comeback in those last 5 minutes. So Lewis Lyde, first of all, gets over for a try. And that made it at that stage, had he converted it? I'm just trying to think now. No, that wasn't converted. So by that point then, it's 13-12 to the Dragons. So Dragons still leading the game. But then the Ospreys in the last minute, looking desperately for that score, and they get it through Keelan Giles. And now, game is done, and Jack Walsh puts over the conversion as well. 19 points to 13. So, really good from the Ospreys to get themselves back in the game. The Dragons did finish with 14 on the field because, who's it? Dlamini, I think, went to the bin, just before Lloyd got in for the first try. So it was, a tough ask of them really to defend in that final minute. The Ospreys, with a man up and, kind of all hands to the pump kind of thing, but it wasn't enough to save them there. They did get a losing bonus point and absolutely deserved it. But yeah, fair play to the Ospreys. And again, that's why I'm wearing the jersey today. Looked like they were done and dusted really, with 5 minutes to go. Hadn't mustered the score in, what was it, like since the 33rd minute. That there was their only score that they'd gotten. So yeah, it absolutely looked like the Dragons were going to, have taken a win, and probably would have been good value for it as well, the way they kind of kept that scoreboard ticking over in the second half. But unfortunately for them, they couldn't add to their score in the last 20 minutes. And then the Ospreys in the last 5 minutes really turned things around. Ospreys 19, Dragons 13. Okay. Next, then we have the final game of the weekend, and it was Ulster 21, Cardiff 14. So, again, full review on the channel of this one. And, Ulster, it's almost a script with Ulster versus Cardiff at this stage. Ulster get out to a great lead, and then Cardiff pegged them back. But this time, Ulster actually able to, keep a bit of momentum in that second half that eventually got them over the line. So we have Scott Wilson gets in for Ulster first up, after battering away at the line. And then Angus Bell. Oh, Angus Bell, you've got to, if you haven't seen his try, you've got to watch it. Like, veteran prop, just dances his way, like, first of all, breaks the line, then a couple of ankle breaker steps and dances his way over to score. Absolutely brilliant. Whatever position, you were playing, if you scored that try, like that would be on your kind of your lifetime highlight reel, and for him to score is brilliant. First try for Ulster. And as I said on the commentary, it doesn't matter if he ever scores another try for them, because that try will be remembered for a very long time. Absolutely brilliant from him. And, Ulster leading 14-0 at the break. And then we go into the second half, and then Ulster start coming back at them. We have Johan Mulder gets over for a try for Cardiff, brings them back within a score. But then Ulster are actually able to go again. So you have Irvine gets in with 15 minutes to go for them, converted. So 21-7 at that point. But then pretty much from the restart, Cardiff are in. Stefan Emmanuel goes over. Callum Sheedy converts 21-14. Nervous for Ulster down the stretch. But then towards the end, Ulster were going for, the bonus point. They were on the line, won a couple of penalties, and, they almost got there. Just, they couldn't quite get over the line. But then Cardiff won a penalty, and they decided, right, we're happy enough with a losing bonus point, got the ball off the field for the end. But, decent performance, I think, from both teams. Ulster, given what happened to them previously against Cardiff, not succumbing to that whole thing of, letting the lead slip. They actually, went again. And then Cardiff as well for staying in the game, the way they did too. So, Ulster 21, Cardiff 14, the final score there. Okay, so those are the games for the weekend. Next, we are going to have a look at the table. So, top of the table, Glasgow Warriors, 9 from 11 from them. There's no real doubt at the minute that they are the form team in the league on 44 points. Leinster, though, coming into some form, it had an interesting kind of discussion in the comments of the Leinster video, actually, about, kind of making me think about things a little bit more, about whether it is a case of Leinster are in kind of a dip in form, or whether it's just Leinster are a different animal this year, where we're not seeing them kind of rip teams to shreds with their attack, but we are seeing stuff that we haven't seen before, which is their ability to be patient, and just grind out wins, and that's what they're doing this year. So maybe it is just a different Leinster that we've seen this year, rather than a Leinster team who are in a dip. And, as I said in the comments, it's about, that will be judged on how they do this year. Can they retain the URC? How far can they go in the Champions Cup, etc.? But Leinster second place, 8 out of 11 for them, and 40 points. Then Stormers, because of that, have dropped down to third place. Back-to-back defeats by the Sharks. Have seen them drop from the top of the table down to second last week, and then to third this week. And they have won 8 of their 10 games, so still a game in hand for them. That's not enough to close the gap on the Warriors, but it would be enough, if they won it, for them to go back above Leinster. But at the minute, they are in third place with 36 points. Then Ulster in fourth place. 7 of their 10 games have been won as well. Another team with a game in hand on Leinster, and they're 36 points. And then fifth place Cardiff, 7 of their 11 games have been won, also won 36 points. So you can see why I said, that the table is very tight. Like you got 3 teams, third to fifth, on exactly the same points, and only points difference separating them, and all of them within a win of potentially overtaking Leinster in second place. Then we've got Munster in sixth, 7 wins for them as well, for 35 points, and that is your leading pack, really, 1 to 6 there. And then there's a 10-point gap then to the Bulls, but it's not just the Bulls, it's basically to the Bulls and another whole pack of teams who are tightly grouped together as well. So we've got the Bulls in 7th place with 5 wins from their 10 games, and they have 25 points, but they've got a game in hand on the teams ahead of them, so they could at least close that gap up a little bit. Still would need results to go their way to start really closing in on Munster, Cardiff, Ulster and the Stormers. And then 8th place is Ospreys, 4 wins and 2 draws from their 11 games for them, for 25 points. Then the Hollywoodbets Sharks, who've been climbing the table up to 9th place after those back-to-back wins against the Stormers. 4 wins and a draw from their 10 games. So they have a game in hand on the Ospreys on 24 points. The Lions in 10th place, same record, 4 wins, 1 draw from their 10 games. Points difference a little bit less than the Sharks, and they're on 24 points, also with a game in hand on the Ospreys. Then we have Benetton in 11th place, same number of wins, 4, and a draw as well after the weekend there, that draw against the Scarlets, but they've played 11 games and haven't got as many bonus points, so they're on 21. Then Connacht in 12th place, just 3 wins for them so far this year, but they did get their 3rd there at the weekend against Zebre, so they move up the table a little bit. they've got 21 points. Then we have Edinburgh, who again, I really do feel like should have gotten that losing bonus point against Leinster, but they didn't. 3 wins from 10 for them as well, with 18 points. The Dragons in 14th, looked like they were on for a third win of the season, but it didn't happen for them. But they got 2 wins and 2 draws from their 11 games on 18 points. Then Scarlets, they got that draw against Benetton. They've got 3 wins and a draw now from 10 games, and they're on 15 points. And then Zebre, they're at the bottom, still only 2 wins, and those 2 wins came in the first 2 rounds for them. So still looking for another victory. And who would have thought that, when they'd won those back-to-back games at the start of the season, that we wouldn't see another win for them, until at least now. Like, who knows if they're going to win again this season. That's kind of how much of a dip in form they've had. They're still being competitive, though, so I think we will definitely see another win at some stage this season. But they're at bottom of the table on 12 points. So, yeah, it feels like we've kind of got, we've got Glasgow there out in front at the minute. Leinster looking to hunt them down, but then you have that pack behind Leinster, ready to pounce if there's any kind of slip up from them. And then after that, then we have basically 7th place down to, I would say at the minute, down to probably 14th. So the Dragons down 14th. They're all very realistic, chances to get one of those 2 playoff spots in the last kind of 7 rounds. But then you've also got Scarlets, who could absolutely put a run together. They've done so recently and move into that pack as well to be considered. And then Zebre there, who again looking to kind of rediscover their form. They're not adrift by any means at the bottom of the table, but you look at the teams above them, the Dragons and the Scarlets, both having a bit of resurgence in form. So you feel like Zebre do need to find something, or they will find themselves kind of cut off there at the bottom of the table. But, a really great round of games this weekend. Some absolutely brilliant tries scored as well. And, without all of the players who have gone into the Six Nations squads, the URC, I think, proving that they can still produce some very entertaining rugby.